Hello.
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 And welcome to a very eco-friendly episode of the Weekend Superheroes Podcast. My name is Sean, and sitting with me always is Darius, Pat, and Steve. How are you guys?
Oh, not as always.
Great.
Yeah, not as always.
We
Darius
actually got
here.
Darius back.
We're welcoming back Darius. Oh, man.
I've been in and out a little bit, you know.
We've been
a little
worried
bit busy.
sick. Steve, what happened last time?
So, we had allegedly Dave on the podcast.
What did he talk about?
Nice
He
air
talked
quotes, by the way.
about the flat Earth, how the moon is its own light, and a whole other assortment of things.
And he also apologized to his mom a lot.
Yeah, sorry, Mom.
Allegedly.
I like allegedly Dave.
Alleg-
He was
Allegedly.
fantastic. He was
He was Brill.
and he wants to come back on. So
Does he really?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
We were talking the other day, so he wants to come
Sick.
back on.
Let's bring him
I
on.
don't know if it's talk about urine therapy or whatever. He's got so many
Yeah, he had a lot of stuff to talk
crazy
about.
things to talk about. I loved him though. He was awesome.
Yeah, good dude.
Okay, let's talk about Mother Earth for a moment. Are we all doomed?
Yep.
Yep.
Are we?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Is it global or climate change? Pat, what is for someone who has lived under a rock for their entire lives? What's climate change?
Well, if they've lived under a rock, they probably know what it is because
Is there climate change under a
yeah.
rock?
So we're depleting the ozone. We're emitting more CO2, and the world's temperature is fluctuating in ways that it's never done before.
What's a greenhouse effect? How does that work?
So it's like a greenhouse for flowers, where like you're trapping in light and energy and heat and changing the climate of the world.
Right, and I think we all know that is changing rather rapidly. So here's some facts.
Well, we didn't before Al Gore invented it.
Thank God for him.
Actually, the Chinese invented climate change.
No, the Chinese invented Al Gore.
He invented climate change. Okay. That makes a lot of
so
sense.
by the transfer of property, they invented climate
right.
change.
All right, here's according to climate.nasa.gov. Seems a little more legit than most of the websites I get my information
If
from.
you trust the
What's the
government.
date on
I
this?
don't.
2011.
Stop. According to climate.nasa.gov, the number of record high temperatures and events in the United States have been increasing, while the number of record low temperatures events have been decreasing. This started in 1950. So the global sea level rose about 8 inches in the last century. The planet's average surface temperature, the planet that would be Earth, has risen about 2.0 degrees Fahrenheit. Greenland lost 150 to 250 cubic kilometers. That's about 36 to 60 cubic miles of ice per year between 2002 and 2006.
Is it because they're drinking a lot, or
Maybe. But Antarctica lost about 152 cubic kilometers, 36 cubic miles of ice between 2002 and 2005.
Yeah, there's about to be like think it's Antarctica. There's about to be a huge glacier about to break off.
the size of Delaware?
Yeah.
Huge.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all over CNN. And
Any prediction of when this is going to go down?
2011.
Soon. That's what they say. Soon.
Okay, well, glaciers everywhere retreating, almost everywhere around the world, including, it's not just there, it's in the Alps, the Himalayas, the Andes, Rockies, it's in the Alaska and Africa. Steve, how do you feel about that? How does that make you feel about all this going down?
I don't like it. I don't like it because I hate hot temperatures
Have you sweated a little bit more this year?
a little bit.
You're actually kind of sweating now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's
I'm-
because it's 300 fucking degrees
it's
in this
really
room.
bad in here, and I
How do we get a piece of that glacier in here?
Can we get a piece of the aggro crag?
Is
the
the
aggro
Is the
crag.
aggro crag cool?
this
do you
is
think?
called climate change. guys.
Aggro crag is whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
It's
I
magic.
made it hot on here on purpose. I want you guys to feel what it's like
You're trying to get our shirts off.
to be super.
That's all it is. Take your top
It's a
off.
little musky in here.
Darius, question for you, buddy. Can we live on another planet? Is it possible to ditch the Earth and move on to the next apartment?
Hold on.
Yes.
Before you answer that, Darius, can you live on this planet?
First of all,
All right, can
the struggle is real, but
100%.
I mean,
we live on Mars?
why don't we try another planet and then start over? Is that
Can we
possible?
ditch Earth and just move on?
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Peace.
Absolutely. I mean, if there's water, something you can like reproduce something. I forget the term that I'm looking for in this situation, but if you plant seeds and it reproduces something,
agriculture.
yes,
So we need water.
Something in that scenario, yes. If you're able to do that, I think it's possible.
So water and agriculture, those are your two big. I mean, it's pretty good.
It's only going to take
Yes.
us.
All I know is if Matt Damon can do it, we can fucking do it.
This dude grew
Well,
potatoes on
Science
Mars.
fiction.
He's
science fiction.
Oh no, he signs the shit out of that.
Yeah, he scienced the shit out of that.
What did he do? He grew up potatoes, right?
He grew a lot
Yeah,
of
and
potatoes. Yeah,
he grew all kind of good stuff.
That's
He
fantastic.
survived for a long time on Mars. So, I mean, if he can do it, I'm pretty sure anybody can do it.
Okay, so as if all that wasn't bad enough, we've also decided to clear out all of the trees. Turns out trees are kind of important.
Seems like a good idea.
80% of the Earth's land animals and plants live in forests, and many cannot survive the deforestation that destroys their homes. It is estimated that within 100 years, there will be no rainforests. Zero rainforests.
Well, it's a good thing I won't be alive in 100 years. So.
According to this same climate.nasa.gov, 1.5 acres of forest is cut down every second.
Every second.
That's so
every
fast.
second.
There's no way there's that many.
You're
fucking
welcome to
people out
fact
there.
check me.
Cutting trees and
That's true. 1.5 acres of forest is cut down every second. I think sometimes you forget how big the world is. Sorry, allegedly, Dave and his mom.
How flat the Earth is.
Oh no, it's big. It's just flat.
But sometimes people take that sadness to an extreme, and here's a quick clip of that.
Deep in the woods of North Carolina, an extremist eco group called Earth First bewails the violation of American nature.
I want to mourn the loss of all the old growth trees I've seen and tell them that we love them.
Sort of puts the mental and environmental, doesn't it, guys? But today, I want to talk about the people that give global warming a whole new meaning. We're talking about ecosexual. Say it with me, guys.
Ecosexual.
According to Mr. Webster, it's an environmentally conscious person whose adherence to green living extends their romantic and or sexual life.
That's colorist.
Darius, quick question.
Yes.
How do you feel about whenever you go into a warm beach and you feel your toes in the sand? Do you like it?
It actually feels pretty comforting.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Pat, been to the beach ever in your life?
Yeah, I'm actually still sinking into it.
Yeah. Do you? How do you feel whenever you just lay there, especially when you're a little hungover and you feel the waves just rushing over you?
Why was he hungover?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, seriously.
You guys have never met Pat. This is Pat. Everybody, this is Pat.
okay.
He's a
Hey,
raging
Pat.
alcoholic.
Hey.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Steve,
Hey.
hot day. You've been running.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden you stop and you feel that cool breeze.
Wait, why'd you ask Steve about
Wait,
running
why was
and not
my
me
feet
and
in the
Darius?
sand and then he was hungover and then he was just running in the sand? How is this
It's like, oh, hey, in shape guy.
Wait, am I running on the beach or am I running? Where am I running at?
Anywhere you'd like to run, but then you stop and then you feel that cool breeze in the back of your neck. It makes your nipples hard. How do you feel about that?
It's me breathing on your neck.
Well, obviously my nipples are hard, so you know how I feel already.
So, though the ecosexual movement has been around a while, probably since the early 2000s, its growth and awareness owe a big thank you to two people. You probably heard of them by the name of Annie Sprinkles and Elizabeth or Beth Stevens. Their website, Sex Ecology, has published an entire manifesto on the subject. But I was looking it up after a lot of research, and in Australia, there is something called the Ecosexual Bathhouse.
Australia.
Australia. What search engine they
That's
got
how
out
they
there?
say it in Australia.
Australia.
Good night from Australia.
Some people are more Australian than others.
Hey, mate, what you want to search there?
Oh, so British.
Yes.
Why are your British accent and your Australia accent the same thing?
Australia.
In Australia, hello, the Ecosexual Bathhouse is a government-funded 6-room converted cottage where you can go to get intimate with nature. It was created by two people, the name of, help me, Lauren Cranemer and Ian Sinclair.
I am so proud of you right now.
Oh, that was rough.
Way to sound it out.
I
That's good.
killed it. Usually I put the pronunciation. So let's hear an advertisement, actually, from the Eco Bathhouse.
We make love with the earth. We are aquaphiles, terraphiles, pyrophiles, and aerophiles. We shamelessly hug trees, massage the earth with our feet, and talk erotically to plants. We are skinny dippers, sun worshippers,
Or in our case, chunky dunkers.
stargazers. We caress rocks, are pleasured by waterfalls, and admire the Earth's curves.
I think she's doing more than hugging that tree.
We make love with the Earth through our senses. We celebrate our E-spots, and we are very
I
dirty.
can't even find the G spot.
It's a whole new alphabet for you. So at the Ecosexual bathhouse, people can fondle orchids at the bathhouse. They provide finger condoms for
Fondoms.
protection.
Oh man.
You can wear surgical masks covered in grass for some fresh mulching.
So what do you do? Like rub grass with each other? Is that how you get it on?
I think, yeah, it's like you want to kiss each other, but you throw grass in between you to make it more ecosexual.
You just do one of these, like rub grass on your face.
You know, people can't see you.
Yeah.
Listen, I can barely understand like conventional sex. Like, this is blowing my mind.
There's also an earthly glory hole. Okay, this is just it
Like
looks
an
like just,
anthill?
it looks like just a tub filled with what looks like grass and soil. There's also eco porn to get you steamier than a greenhouse.
I made that analogy earlier, didn't I?
Right, you like how we've come full circle? That was pretty cool.
Man.
Okay, you can take it one step further and go ahead and tie the knot. Let's go back to Sprinkles and Stevens, right? So they hold wedding ceremonies where you can actually marry the dirt, a lake, coal, rocks, snow, the moon, the mountains, earth, or the sea. And the ecosexual movement is not going anywhere. In fact, it's getting bigger and stronger. There's an annual gathering in Washington called Surrender. The last one took place in the middle of last month. You can find this information on the website about the ecosexual convergence. But this, and I'm quoting here, it's a gathering to bring together wild souls who express a love for life by stewarding and merging with the earth through the whole of their bodies, minds, and spirits. So it's a 5 jam-packed days with ecosexual-related activities, workshops, presentations. I'd like to tell you more, but I was recently introduced to someone who could explain it a bit better. On Skype with us now is a woman of almost way too many talents. She is a sexologist, a holistic spiritual leader, an eco-magics practitioner. She generates sex-positive culture by teaching clitoral revelations, vulvic explorations, and my personal favorite, clitoracy salons, and and several other sacred sexuality classes. Everyone's favorite ecosexual and creator of Surrender, please join me in giving a big superheroes welcome to Reverend Teri Ciacchi.
Thank you.
How are you tonight, Teri?
Oh, it's beautiful. I'm in my backyard, which looks like a meadow because I don't mow it. So my cats are here. There's tiger lilies. It's beautiful.
That's fantastic.
Whatever works, man.
Well, hey, thank you for joining us and rapping with us on such short notice. What do you say we go ahead and we'll start with you.
Okay.
You have Eco Magics Practitioner on your long list of practices. Say, hypothetically, I didn't know what that was. Could you expand on that just a little bit, please?
Sure. Ecomagics is magic with a K is magic that's intended to change reality at will, like to align your intention with what you want to generate in the world rather than going along with your social programming, right? So eco-magic is having magic, doing rituals and spell work, and living in a way that the end of all of your energy is promoted towards ecology, right? Like, so it's like if someone's a baby witch, they might do a lot of magic that's for, I want to get a car or I want to get a new boyfriend. But the magic that I practice and teach, and why we call it eco-magics to distinguish it from other magic, is about changing the world, about having a sustainable evolutionary culture that moves us into the future. That's a way that you'd want children to have a life.
Very cool.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're in your backyard, so getting connected with Earth is really important, but are you actually attracted or aroused by the elements of nature, or are you just kind of just...
Yeah. Yes and no. And I have a different frame for sexuality than most people, right? So that I usually talk about in the article that I wrote for the book Ecosexuality, When Nature Inspires the Arts of Love, which I'll hopefully give you the website for. My article is about the 3 different levels of sexuality, that most people have sexuality for 1, procreation, or 2, recreation. But for me, sex and the erotic life force is about communion. Okay, so there's that. And then because I'm an animist and a witch, I believe that all things, not just humans, but rocks and trees and other things, are sovereign beings, that they have their own kind of personhood. So this is much more aligned with indigenous cultures around the world, or ancient pre-Christian practices, where we actually believe that a tree can be communicated with. Not like I'm not talking to the trees, right? So not through intellectual communication, but through emotional communication, through compassion and empathy, and developing our senses in a way to see how does that feel.
Very cool.
Right?
Makes
So
sense.
I'm not actually going into the woods to have intercourse with trees. I'm going into the woods to sit and be with them and to see what the trees might want or like, or how I can live in a way that honors them as if they have a right to live that's as important as humans' rights to live.
Interesting.
If you have a relationship,
Does that make sense?
It does actually a lot.
But how can you have a relationship with more than one tree and practice monogamy?
I didn't say that I practice monogamy. I'm not a monogamist. Right? So here's the thing. The only thing I'm mono about is language. So I'm a monolinguist because I'm kind of lazy and I haven't bothered to learn enough about Spanish or Italian or, and I should because I'm a world citizen.
Yeah.
But I'm a polytheist and I'm a polyamorist. I'm married to a man. We just got married in May, actually, on the 13th.
Congratulations.
But we both have other lovers. We have a very complex, what we call a polycule, and we have a complicated and deep relationship with many beings, human and non-human.
Say you just met 4 drunk idiots who asked you to come on their podcast.
Right.
How would you kind of distill ecosexuality down to kind of, the terms that, drunk guys like us can understand?
Well, it might be a stretch, and you might want to get high instead of drunk. Because you might want to expand your consciousness and get a little fuzzy and be in a kind of consciousness that's not so beta focused or goal focused. Does that make sense?
You want us to surrender.
Yes, I do.
I see what you did
And
there.
I also might ask you to go back to a time before you were thoroughly socially programmed. Like when you were a child, do you recall being a child and being out of nature and possibly having experiences with non-human things as if they were your friends?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, growing up, one of my grandma's neighbors had a daughter who, when I would go visit, would take me to, there was a little stand of pine, like 4 or 5 pine trees. She would take me to talk to the trees.
Look at that.
Right.
And Darius lost his virginity to a mechanical bull. Yeah.
Wow, I thought that was more like a Mithric religious experience with mechanical bulls. That's funny. That's good. So I think if you talk to most people when they're children have early relationships with their pets, right? Like a dog or a cat, or I had a little lizard, a little chameleon, that are emotionally very deep. And we end up having usually a lot of sadness or grief because usually the animals pass before we do. But usually our early companions are nature or animals or other kids who also have a vibrantly alive imagination. And we are at those times able to perceive that there are other worlds and there are other beings besides humans cohabiting this world with us.
So all of the media on all this looks like LSD-filled outdoor orgies. Do you feel like this subculture is being misrepresented?
Oh, sure, but that's to be expected. The culture that we are in together, which I call the fading Uber culture, is fixated on money, social status, is highly controlled, enforces police states. I was talking with Sean a little bit about marriage because so much of Annie Sprinkle and Beth Stevens' work has been about ecosexual weddings. Yeah?
Yep.
And right? And so the only kinds of relationships that are sanctioned by the state for hundreds of years were heteronormative, monogamous marriages between one man and one woman. And that form of relationship really developed as a way to keep track of income and resources and to reinforce a patriarchal state. I'm not interested in any of those things, so why would I create relationships about those things? And because the culture that we're living in only reinforces that kind of lifestyle, right? That's not my lifestyle. So I don't expect the mainstream media to adequately represent my interests, my way of living, my kinds of relationships. I'm not really that interested in the mainstream culture at all, and I don't spend a lot of time in it.
So you say you're not interested in the subculture, and it means nothing to you and things like that.
I'm not interested in the dominant culture.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in subcultures.
Right. So what led you down the path to be completely uninterested in the dominant? Because you have to admit that the majority is for the dominant culture. Yes, that's why they call it the dominant culture. So what made you go astray and go your own path?
Well, there's a couple of really serious answers to that. One, I was at a private women's school and was a little sister at a fraternity house and had a pretty seriously violent date rape when I was 18 years old. Ugh. And that woke me up. I was like, oh, I'm not going to be protected by men. Oh, so actually a series of pretty traumatic things is what woke me up. And also having the experience that even when for quite some time, I say until my early 30s, I quite seriously focused on achieving social status, trying to make money, my internal distress about doing work that wasn't holistically adding things to the culture, being unhappy about the hours of work that I had to work or the things that I was doing. Because I became a psychiatric social worker, and I worked for adults who had mental illness, but a lot of my work was really controlling them, and it wasn't loving. So I was really dissatisfied with the opportunities that were offered to me, so I started to create my own way.
I mean, that makes sense, but not everyone's brave enough to do that.
Yeah, no, thank you, and thank you for sharing. Do you still in touch with that gentleman? Do you have his address? We'd like to make sure this is all taken care of.
That's a very interesting response. You see that I appreciate the gallantry of that.
Yes,
and
you're one of us now.
I think that was something that occurred in order for me to have the opportunity to wake up, and it was a kind of initiation.
Good for you. Well, it brought you to us, so
yeah.
And we certainly appreciate you opening up and talking to us about that. So let's move on and let's talk about the surrender. What kind of activities go on up there?
Well, we have the first day we have a talk where Lindsay Hageman and I talk for just about 40 minutes about different subjects. This year the talk was about interdependence and sovereignty or autonomy. But how do you take a bunch of people that are coming from many different lifestyles with many different backgrounds and create a loving community together? That takes a balance of interdependence and sovereignty. So we talk about that. And then we have a huge 90-minute training on consent so that people all have the same understanding of what sexual sovereignty is and what consent is. Does that help?
With ecosexuality, there are some that are attracted to the earth, and a lot of the negative media says that as far as consent is involved, there is no consent with nature. You can't fondle a flower and the flower thank you for it. It just doesn't work like that. So what are your thoughts on that whole ordeal?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about it. One, we're actually really clear about what consent is with humans. And then a lot of eco-magic is about trying to recapture sensory skills that have atrophied because our imagination has atrophied. So as I said in the beginning, if you could go back to when you were a child and you thought trees are your friends, or you had a relationship with your cat where you communicated with it, you might not have been exchanging words, but you were exchanging sensations, like feelings. Like there's a general sense of whether something is friendly or something is not. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't actually, we're not like advocates for people to have, again, intercourse, which is a very small
Hey,
subset of sexual.
It's like you know us.
have you been talking to my fiance?
This is the last time we do video, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry, that was really funny. One of the people whose work I greatly admire and whose poetry I quote frequently is a woman named Diane de Prima, who was a beat poet who's still alive in San Francisco. And she wrote a poem called Rant that has the refrain, "The only war is the war against the imagination, and all other wars are subsumed in it." So check this out, right?
Wow.
The reason when people say, "Oh, ecosex, is that about fucking trees?" it's like, hey, is that the only thing you think about when we're talking about sexual behavior? Which is why I've had to articulate all these things. Because for me, I wouldn't have any kind of sexual exchange without a deeply resonant emotional exchange, without love being present. I'm not interested in sex without love, but they are two different things, right? They're two different things.
Absolutely.
Now we're using the word sex because it needs to be explicit to gain attention, and because it's part of the sex positive movement. It grew out of LGBTQ evolution and liberation movements and the sex positive movement that's been alive and well, especially in the Pacific Northwest, for years, right? I taught for 10 years at the Center for Sex Positive Culture in Seattle. There's a lot of people who are using their imaginations, both sexually and otherwise, to have very expanded definitions of love and sex and polyamory and all those things. And this ecosex movement is an extension of that, based on the foundational work of Annie Sprinkle and Beth Stevens, who are using their performance art of ecosexual weddings to gain attention and to get people to think. It's like a culture jam. There's this old anarchist thing called the Society of the Spectacle, like the understanding that if you want to help people think differently, you do something that's spectacular in public that causes them to go, what the heck is that? Or, the first article I wrote was called What the Fuck, WTF is Ecosex, right? Because that's what you guys are calling me about. What the fuck, right?
That's exactly
what
what
is it?
right?
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's really more complicated. I mean, we live in a really diverse, complex world. Would you say that's true?
Oh,
Of course, yeah.
oh yeah. Even more so every day.
Right. So we're trying to create, with Surrender, we're creating a sustainable community of people that identify as ecosexuals in the Cascadia bioregion. And bioregions are a different way to divide things up than states. You divide up a bioregion based on the watershed of the land that you're living on. Right? And so what we're doing is saying, because our lives literally depend on land, having access to clean water, being able to grow our own food, or knowing where that food comes from, being trying to have fuel self-sufficiency. That's one of the big projects at Windward. They have a biomass to fuel program where they're growing enough trees to convert the biomass into ethanol so that they can get away from paying utility companies for power. Can you imagine what our lives would be like?
Oh, yeah.
We're growing our own
Be the
food.
best thing ever.
Fantastic. Look us
We
up
owned
whenever
our
that
own
happens.
homes. We didn't have utility bills. How many people would be allowed to move away from the oppressive jobs that they're doing to support their families?
Right. No, it's awesome.
So we would rather have our own food and our own fuel and our own many partners and have sex in the woods most of the time than work 9 to 5 and give our life's blood to things we don't believe in.
Well, when you put it
I
that way,
like
who
it,
wouldn't
yeah.
want to do that?
Yeah, I
Wait a
like
second.
it.
Where do I sign up? This is amazing. Reverend Terry, we could talk to you all day. Do you have any advice for anyone who's eco-curious, who wants to get into this but is afraid of tipping the fence?
I don't think that you have to live in the Pacific Northwest to have a relationship with nature. I do recommend that you look at, there's a whole field called ecopsychology now. There's a Facebook page called Watershed Ecotherapy. There are people who are doing ecotherapy for people to help people deal with the feeling of loss around the grief of a place that you loved being destroyed. Or, we're in actually a pretty serious time right now where the values that founded the ecology movement in the 70s are being attacked, and things like the clean water and stuff are being, those environmental protection acts are being retracted, so there's kind of a little bit of an economic war So as much time as you can spend outside and just lay in the grass, just to actually interact with nature right away. And this is all, documented now. Your respiration relaxes within 20 minutes of being outside. Your heartbeat slows down. Your peripheral vision starts to be restored because we have tunnel vision from looking at screens so much. So I would just say to anybody, spend time in nature and really focus on can you have more physical pleasure, because physical pleasure is what creates new neural networks. Oxytocin and serotonin are going to cause you to evolve as a human being. Is that helpful?
That was more than helpful.
Helpful.
Derry, thank you so much. You were awesome. I could talk to you all day. Unfortunately, we only have limited time. But, hey, do you have 5 more minutes? Because at the end of every podcast, we play a little game called Fact or Fuck. Do you in?
I'm excited about that, yeah.
All right, here we go.
Fact or fucked?
Darius. During a pagan coming-of-age ceremony called the Chamber Ceremony, a new member of the coven would bury their semen in order to bring new life to the earth.
Fact.
Fact. Terry?
I think that's fucked.
That is fucked. Terry, you are the winner of that one. And
And
just
for
like we
everyone
said,
listening, if you could see the look on Terry's face right now, it is priceless.
also, Darius is...
I'm all for trying anything.
And Darius is digging a hole as we speak.
Darius is out there in the backyard burying the semen like, yeah, I got this shit.
Pat. The term that may sometimes refer to a paraphilia, in which a person is sexually attracted to or aroused by trees, is dendrophilia. Fact or fucked?
Trees are arbor. I'm going to go with fucked.
Fucked. Terry?
I think that's a fact.
That is
It
a
is a
fact.
fact.
Terry
I
is
knew that
2 for
shit.
2. She is
I knew
killing
that
it.
How did you
shit.
know that,
Killing
Steve?
it.
I don't know.
Yeah, how do you know that, Steve?
Actually...
Hold on, I'm looking at his search
in
history
Can't-
right now.
I'm pretty sure it was in Can't Hardly Wait, actually.
Steve.
You're not helping yourself,
Hey,
Steve.
that was a
Though
movie.
it never made past post-production, Bruce Willis, early in his career, starred in the movie Eco Man, the story of a young law professor turned environmentalist superhero.
See, it really threw me off with the superhero thing there.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm going to say fucked.
Fucked. Terry?
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see that movie. That'd kind of be funny.
When we make it big, we'll make that
I'll
movie.
say that's a fucked too.
That is fucked again. Terry,
Wow, everyone's
Terry,
doing-
well
Take
done,
it.
well done.
Everyone's doing great but me.
3 more,
Awesome.
then we'll let you
Darius
go.
lost.
Darius is terrible.
Yeah, I'm going to lose this
Oh,
one.
we expect him to lose.
The scene
True.
from the 1981 classic, movie The Evil Dead 2, where the character Cheryl is raped by possessed weeds, is still banned in some countries.
Fucked.
Fucked.
Look, there's a movie where a woman is raped by possessed.
That's what I said.
It is true. The Evil Dead.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2.
2.
I don't watch much horror films because I have nightmares, but I'd say that's probably true. Unfortunately,
That is a fact.
Yeah,
She is
you
100
suck, Darius.
She is 100%.
Nictu Veratu.
God, I never seen that movie.
I was going to say fact just because you had 2 fucks in a row.
2 more. Pat. The term tree hugger was coined in 1730 when hundreds of people died while trying to protect the trees in their village from being turned into raw material for a palace.
what year was that again?
1730.
I'm going to say fuck because in 1730 we had way more trees than we have now.
Okay.
I don't think it's true because they wouldn't have used the term hugger in 1730. So I think that's fucked.
It's fucked. Yeah.
Oh
That's
my god,
You're great.
killing it!
Are you, Terry, be honest. Are you using magic right now?
Not to get the answers, I'm using my intelligence, but that could be a kind of magic.
Did you
because
cast a spell on me right now? Is that?
it's delightful that you think so.
Terry, last one, and you could be our very first guest that shot 100% in Fact or Fuck. Do you know that?
Oh no, I'm so
Yeah,
pressured.
no pressure.
Yeah, way to go! Put the pressure on. That's like saying, "Oh, he's only 10 minutes away from a shutout. He's pitching a no-hitter in the 9th inning."
In Norway, young children nap in the outdoors in sub-zero temperatures because parents claim it promotes better daytime sleeping and increases the duration of sleep.
Fucked.
Fucked to you,
No,
Terry.
I think that's a fact.
That is a
This
fact.
fact.
Terry
Oh my
is
God.
100%.
Holy shit.
Terry, huge thank you to our guest tonight, Terry. She's also a contributor to the book by Lindsay Hagman and Serena Gaia. It's aptly titled Ecosexuality. You can get it on Amazon. Terry was a big contributor there. Terry, where can we find more of you or any more information on ecosexuality?
And you can go to livingloverevolution.com and you can go to it's www.ecosexconvergence to see our video and the information about our yearly gathering. And I hope you gentlemen would think about coming out. It would be fun to see.
Oh, man, would that be?
It honestly sounds like a really good time.
I mean, it's 5 jam-packed days.
Listen, you have just, I think you just sold 4 new ecosexuals onto your little ecosex bus. That's amazing. If you want to find out more about the Weekend Superheroes, you can find us at weekendsuperheroes.com. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, Spreaker, Stitcher, and pretty much every other media outlet. Darius.
What's our Twitter handle?
You can find us at Facebook.com and Twitter, WKND Superheroes without the .com. Darius, would you like to say goodbye?
As always, goodbye, ladies.
Oh, he's always so smooth. Pat, say goodbye.
Good night, Moon.
Steve.
I don't know what I can follow up that with.
Terry, say goodbye to everyone who loves you.
Goodbye. Thank you so much.
And always remember to podcast responsibly.